Seems like it.
Short
No,
weekend.
I'm well rested. It does not seem like it all.
Do here, right? Yeah.
So you don't have to do this anymore. Like you send your son to school and you're like, hey man, I'll see you, Thanksgiving or whatever. You got a college guy. I had to send 2 off to like full day school.
Oh, today was the day.
And I'm the lunch maker.
Oh,
so I get up in the morning, and
what kind of lunch boxes do they have, or do they just use the bag?
No,
or do they just use the bags from the grocery store? I used to do that.
The bag from the grocery store?
Yeah, because nobody can make fun of that. Yeah. What are you doing? Hey, man, you got you some snacks in here, man. Oh, you won't tell me the lunchbox?
No, they have my son has a fancy Nike lunchbox that he convinced my wife into getting, and my daughter used to always have the one with her name on it, but she's used the same one 2 or 3 years in a row, which is odd. Usually that doesn't happen in our house, but I agonize over what to make them.
Do you?
My son eats the same thing every day. He eats the exact same thing every day, so he's easy. But my daughter, she just eats like, Dad, I don't care what you put in there. Oh, well, don't tell me that. Because then I'm just staring in the refrigerator like.
Well, I just make her the same thing as your son.
she would probably just eat.
That's a big age gap difference there.
He eats the exact same thing every day of his life.
Oh.
Could you do that?
No, I could not. You know what I could do, though, and that's what I was just about to tell you, to see if you could actually do this. Every week for 5 days of the week when you're making lunch, fix the same thing on Monday, and have a plan what you make on Tuesdays, and you make the same thing every week.
Okay.
Whatever, different stuff.
But just that week, it's the same thing 5 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every week. That way you never have an issue. Then on Wednesday, you have your Wednesday special. If Wednesday's the day you give leftovers from when we went to J. Alexander's, for J. Alexander's, then that's what you do on Wednesdays. Kind of implement it into, if you go out to eat, your son is probably a lot easier, as you said. So you can just make him peanut butter and jelly every day now. Whatever it is.
No, he would eat that every day. See, I hope they're not listening because you've put more thought into this. And
well, that's kind of the reason why I say that, because that's what I do as an adult. I have salmon and tilapia every week, and I kind of try to rotate it around on which days of the week I do that, because I'm the one actually cooking.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hey, I got the chef skills, man. Okay. Yeah, I got the chef skills, man. They just try to make sure I don't leave it in there too long and don't dry it out. But yeah, man. It's easy to make, broccoli or something like that.
You steam that in the microwave, you know. Yeah, okay. Well, you're making me look bad. Now I hope my wife's not listening because you're doing all the cooking. And I'm like, if I'm cooking, I'm like, well, where do you want it to come from?
It kind of, just kind of played out that way since our hours have been adjusted. So just kind of worked out that way. I'm available from 4 to 5 before she gets home from work. So I just, how can I make myself useful? Oh. Yeah, so it's like a big deal, and the plates are ready to go, and we just sit there, and she picks and eat, and then we talk about our day. Yeah, over dinner, about 5 or 6 like old people doing, and watch the news.
You empty nesters.
Yeah. I watch the news, and then we'll play the game of Wheel of Fortune every day. And I lose almost all the time.
Okay. My wife can kill me in Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, I'm
but
horrible.
anybody young
that
listening
means we didn't know
you
what I thought when we were watching Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune. Yes, you old coots. You mentioned the word available. Boy, we're getting into hard.
You were in practice today. That's what you're talking about?
Yes, we're getting the nitty-gritty of practice. And the number one receivers currently not available. They're keeping those guys bubble wrapped. So like the 2s are the 1s, the 3s
everybody
are the
who's
2s.
The ones. I mean, AJ Brown
and Julio.
Wait, is Reynolds on one?
Josh Reynolds would be the one slight guy.
We got it.
I know, breaking news.
An unofficial depth chart. Look at it. He didn't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, you got Zone TV. I'm holding it up to the camera right now. Unofficial depth chart. And here's the thing about this.
Oh, man.
Fans and media love these things.
Oh, I do too, because it tells you where you're at.
Coaches hate them. They hate them.
Did he try to nuts and bolts us on anybody? You just messing with us?
A couple things stood out. Anthony Ferkster is not the number 1 tight end on the depth chart. So maybe they're going to run the ball on the first play of the game. Jeff Swaim.
Was he in practice? I thought he was injured. No?
I don't even know. I mean, you asked me that.
Lucas doesn't know either?
Okay, I don't know.
Maybe practice today. I have no idea.
I don't know.
I wasn't out there.
I was out there, and I don't know if Swaim practiced today or not. I'd have to go back and look at who did and who didn't.
Anything stand out
Lucas
on the
is texting me.
second
Maybe
team?
he's telling me.
I see Dylan Radins is number 2 at guard.
At guard, Blaine.
And I see McMath is ahead of Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
At least on this depth chart. It could be interchangeable, I'm sure. But
Rhett Bryan and I were talking about this, and I said the number 1 wide receivers are exactly who you think. It's Julio, and it's Josh Reynolds, and it's A.J. Brown. It's all the guys who, if you blindfolded all of us and we hadn't seen anything, we'd say, okay, well, those are number 1, 2, and 3. Well, those guys Reynolds hasn't been practicing, although he's been back some. A.J. out. Julio not practicing. He had the one scare, a week ago, Monday, so he's been out ever since. So all the 2s are the 1s now. And all the 3s are the 2s now, and on we go. And I'll tell you this, like the 3s against the 2 defense, there's a lot of times Logan Woodside's not even throwing the ball. Or he's just pat, run.
In team or 707? Or both? Uh-oh. So what I was saying about just more injury issue, you think that the defense ahead of it, or is it more just right now the defense is just ahead of the offense?
The defense is ahead of the offense. They were ahead of them all day. Now, again, the offense is doing this all without Julio and AJ and with a patchwork offensive line, some Lawan, some not. Although he was out there, and I don't know what all I can't say and I can't say. I guess Lawan did more today than he's been doing, which is a great sign. I can say that. I don't want to blur any lines or step on any lines.
Well, that's good because I see Tyson Brello and Lamb are competing for the other right tackle position. That's of note. But it's a little concerning. I don't know if I'd say it's alarming because you don't have your starting receivers out there. But, I was watching Inside the NFL and the NFL Network, and they're at training camp, and they're at the Titans training camp. And every time they came back to the Titans, they were talking about 7-on-7. And you know what I think about 7-on-7. 7-on-7, the receiver, they're supposed to complete almost every ball.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, if you got 10 reps, you're supposed to complete at least 7 or 8 of them. Complete.
And for people like
they said that the Titans didn't complete but 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
7-on-7. There is no pass rush.
No pass rush.
You're running on air versus the skill guys.
Yep.
And the DB, the goal in the DBs is to be right there when they catch it to touch them. That means you can make a play in that game because it probably won't be quite as accurate or won't be on time because of the rush. Now, sometimes you just can't help timing, and that's why timing is important. And so you're supposed to be right there. I mean, right there. They're not complete. 3 out of 10. That is not good. That is not good. Now, I don't know what's going on. We could talk about it's the second units out there going against the 1. I don't care about any of that, to be honest, because your 2, since this wide receiver depth is really good.
Yeah.
They could be young, old, whatever. They're supposed to still catch the ball and get open, and maybe you get a couple more pass breakups if you're DBs, and maybe they only complete 5 out of 10 and maybe not 7 out of 10. But that's a big gap. I'm a little concerned. So I don't know what the deal is watching the offense, and maybe because they had OTAs and now the defense is really, ahead of them. And the defense is also a little fired up. A lot of new players out there on defense too as well. So I don't know why that is. It could be the offense is making some adjustments to a new coordinator and doing some different things and trying to see what they can and cannot do without their starters, actually. So it could be a benefit in the long run. I just don't like hearing it day after day when this offense was prolific and you're thinking you're going to ride their backs even still this year, but maybe not as much as the last couple years, but you would think that they're going to be the strength of the team. And people are going to keep laughing at me when I keep saying, so go how you practice, so go how you play.
Yep.
I'm sorry. That's how it doesn't work any other way. I don't care if you have the same exact players. Every year is a new year, and you have to develop that chemistry every single year. Because you could change one piece, and it could mess up everything. So I want to see this get better, hopefully here sooner than later on the offensive side. And defense just kind of keep competing and doing well. You saw some things out there from Caleb Farley. I think you said that Vrabel got a little heated.
I think, Lucas, you have this, right? Mike Vrabel, he sent Caleb Farley off the field at one point.
Oh, did he?
Like a play ended. It was a play with the 2s when nobody was open.
Oh.
Pat, 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 pat. Here goes Logan Woodside. You know, that round your way out of the pocket and head downfield till somebody gets near you and then the play gets blown dead. Well, he was kind of getting near Farley, who had kind of gone out of the play. And I guess he just didn't get up or didn't hurry back up. And Mike Vrabel essentially said, rejoin the play. If you're not going to do that, get out of here. For now,
he said rejoin the play?
No, he used a bunch of other words.
Okay.
That's family radio.
That sounds weird in football.
Rejoin the play.
No, like you're yelling, rejoin the play.
No, he was rejoining. He was rejoining some F-bombs and things.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to.
Well, I like to give the audience
paint the picture.
Yeah, the real picture of what's going on out there. Like, it ain't all hunky-dory. Everybody thinks it's all fun and game. It's not little league. This is for real business.
If you've never been to an NFL practice, it's just, especially when Washburn was out there.
Oh, he was
former
hilarious.
defensive blanket. That guy was so funny.
You'd have me laughing on the other field. Because you could hear him, and then he'd say some crazy statement, and you'd be like, what did he just say?
It's a special kind of profanity. There's a tapestry of obscenity that hangs over Lake Amulet today over there. But this is, Mike Vrabel got asked about telling him he finished up with get off the field. And this is how that ended with Coach Vrabel.
I mean, he's just got a lot of work to do, and he's whatever, made a mistake or didn't do something great and kind of stood there or laid on the ground. And I just said, that's not how we're going to do it. There's going to be a lot of mistakes that happen through the course of the game, but we're going to go finish, and we're going to find somebody to cover or find somebody to tackle or finish the play.
Yeah, he didn't finish the play, so that finished his play for a while. He got sent off. But he's doing stuff. That was team period.
Oh, so he's picked it up a little bit as far as him. This happens, and I know it's a little disappointing, probably even on Farley's part here, is his head is spinning on all the different things he needs to do. I don't know what happened, how he fell, whether he got tripped or he slipped or what have you. But in football, the play is never over till it's over, and you learn that, a long time ago. And that's what happens when you start thinking out there, and then you kind of pause. No, you got to get up and hustle. And I think you said Woodside ran right at him, so you got to tag him up. Make sure you stay out of his way. You don't want to hurt the quarterback, even if it's a backup quarterback. Doesn't matter. You want to stay out of his way, but you want to teach and create those habits, and they never change. And when you're a DB, you're running more than anybody out there because you don't get a break. The receivers can go on the sideline, come back. You're out there every single play. You got to be the most conditioned athlete out there, especially at corner. Stopping is never a point of when you stopping, except when you're in the huddle. That's it. That's it, man. Well, better get your breather then. 30 seconds.
Breathe hard. Yeah, breathe fast. Yeah, get all you can. Get all this air you can, and there's no air out there
that's
today.
That's a horrible feeling when you're looking at the corner and you feel like you can't help him, and he's up there breathing. I was always on the side with D-Walk most of the time, and D-Walk be looking at me like, dang, man. Hey, I said, don't worry about coming back to the huddle. This is how you get to in the game. Don't worry. I'm going to give you the call, and you just stay out there. I can get you the call. We're just 10 yards apart. Don't worry. That's 10 steps. I'm saving you. So I appreciate what they do. And then you say, hey, man, give me the call, and I'll ready to rock and roll. And you say, okay, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good, man. And he said, just make sure I get the call.
Just on the fly. All right, when we come back, we got to do our ding-dong of the week segment. If you got a ding-dong, let us know. I got a humdinger of a ding-dong.
Oh, my.
I'll share that with you. And it's an Olympic ding-dong. By the way, I'm sad that the Olympics is over.
Oh, I know, man.
I love the Olympics.
No, I appreciate the Olympics even more so this year just because there was no one there and they had to pause it, later, a year later. But all the things, and they made it through.
They did.
I wasn't sure at the beginning.
Yep.
And then if the U.S. would win the typical ones that we always, the basketball, and it was like, oh, man, they got better and they improved. Gymnastics was awesome. Swimming, diving. I learned some other sports. Did they have like horse dancing or something?
Horse dancing.
What is that?
I don't know.
I was up there fascinated by it, though.
Those horses could get down.
I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. I was just crazy that somebody could teach a horse
to dance.
Man, so if anybody has ever seen, they can call us with the ding dong, just about horse dancing and, if they train horses and how that whole process works. They got any information on that? We got a lot of people with a lot of horses out here. I'm sure we got some dancing horses running around here, man. That'd be pretty cool to tell us how they actually teach the horses how to dance.
We need to know. And some of you walking horse people, you could tell us. Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline wide open, 615-737-1045. The Ding Dong of the Week also brought to you by Mark Spain coming up next on Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone.
Hear every Titans play with Mike Keith and Coach Dave McGinnis on The Call.
Touchdown, Titans!
Your home for Titans football.
104.5 The Zone.
you by Mark Spain Real Estate. Appreciate Mark Spain and his crew. You can go to Mark Spain to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing. Or as we like to say, don't be a ding-dong. Call Mark Spain. So, yeah, the depth chart is out, and maybe we all are ding-dongs because we get so excited about this. Fans love the depth chart, but we love it too. Media members, like we were standing there waiting to get in the gate this morning, and you hear somebody say like, "Oh, Wyatt just dropped the depth chart." So everybody, it's like a scene from a movie. We all crack open our phone and start looking at the depth chart. And the offense, super predictable. Julio Jones, although the tight end is not. Anthony Ferguson, there's no way Anthony Ferguson is not the starting tight end for this team.
It may be just because that they are a running team, and
right.
so they do the depth chart that way. And he's just more of a pass catching. I would assume that he's getting better at blocking, so you can disguise when he's in and not. And, show that he can do a little bit more than just run routes to catch the football.
So Jeff Swaim, who actually was out today, John Glennon tweeted that out because you said, was he even practicing? I said, I didn't see him. Well, that's why. Lawan, who's doing more and more. Roger Saffold on the left side. Ben Jones is center. Don't believe Ben wasn't out there today. Nate Davis wasn't out there today, starting guard. The right tackle would be some combination of Ty Sembrilo and or Kendall Lamb. Lamb got a little beat up today at practice, so that's something to watch out for. And then the other receivers, Josh Reynolds, A.J. Brown, and Tannehill and Henry. Pretty paint-by-numbers crew, especially like you said, Titans are a running team. Not surprised because Swaim is just a mountain of a man, big blocking guy. Not surprised to see him out there. On the defensive side, Danico Autry, Tier Tart. Blaine, Tier Tart looks like a different guy than I remember. And Vrabel has talked about him a lot this offseason. He got one of those off-season awards, which it's fun to talk about that. But some of those guys don't even make the team, the guys who get those awards. And some do, and they're bit players. But they're just rewarding those guys who are sticking around in the building and letting them see, this is what you told me to do, and I'm doing all of it. And supposedly that was Tier Tart. But there's one play today, run play, where it was like a magic trick. Like the quarterback took the snap, and then he was standing in front of the running back. And it was Evans or one of the backup guys.
So somebody missed a block?
It was like a magic trick. Like he just replaced the center and was in his place.
Well, he's been, he's been causing havoc and been in the backfield all training camp. And even last year, I remember, it was real funny that, Vrabel was always getting after him. And I loved it because a lot of people took it the wrong way, and I took it as it was a great thing.
Yep.
Because guess what? The coach sees something in you, and if they continue to yell at you, then you're doing something right, and they just want to see more of it out of you because they know you have the capabilities, even though you may not even know it yet yourself. It's when they stop yelling at you when you're a young player, especially undrafted guy, that it's concerning.
Yeah.
So I really
need to go and call your agent and be like, hey, man, start scouring the other waiver wires.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So I'm glad to see because, it's you find an athletic big man, and then you say, okay, if we get him in a little better shape, went to a smaller school, so let's get him where he needs to be and then see what we can do with him with our offseason program and then see what he looks like now. And what we do, we see his butt right there at starting nose tackle right now. So that's great. I mean, I'm elated for him, to be honest. So, yeah, I don't see any surprises here. Simon backing up Landry, Long, Brown, Roberson behind Dupree.
Roberson had a real good play today. And here's the thing about Roberson. You've been around here, what's this, year 3? Hey, man, I mean, it's go time. Like, you're either going to go to the next step or you're going to go somewhere else. I mean, at this point in his career, he made a nice play today. And the interesting thing about John Simon, he had a tip ball today off Tannehill that got picked in a team drill. John Simon did. And he got picked up, and people were looking at his stats, and it's an old guy, and how Twitter just immediately chops everything into pieces. Like, what's this? Let's go. Well, this guy's a depth piece. You're not bringing him in to start 16 games. You're bringing him in to spell Bud Dupree and Landry.
Right.
But he already knows the system.
Yeah.
He's played under Mike Vrabel multiple times. He's already out there making plays. Now, is he going to make the Pro Bowl? No. Is he going to play 50% of the defensive snaps? No, probably not. Probably like 30%. But what if you got 30% from that guy? Think about this. They were dressing 3 outside linebackers last year for games. 3.
Man, that was concerning.
3 people.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how the heck guys are going to be a little bit tired. Also Rashard Weaver here is like fifth behind Wyatt Ray and Roberson on Dupree. I think that's why I'm reading it correctly as far as the depth.
Yeah, left to right. You got it.
I mean, man, that don't look right. He was a draft pick. But in that same sense, we got Monty Rice, third string. Who's Jan Johnson?
I literally read this depth chart, and I asked.
He's a number 2.
He's number
linebacker.
2 out of Penn State. Got a year's experience. I had to look him up on the roster. I had to look him up. And I pride myself on knowing some of the obscure guys. Right. Jan Johnson, linebacker, 6'2", 231, 25, 1 year of experience out of Penn State. Free agent this year. So he wasn't like drifting around the practice squad or anything last year. So he was somewhere else before because he's not a rookie. So that guy took a train into town late one night, and he's on the squad now. I don't know anything about that cat. There's 90 people on the team. Yeah, he's down there towards 90 with what I know about him.
Reason why I say Monty Rice was the third round, and then I go back and look at, Fitzpatrick here. It looks like I don't even know where he's at on this depth chart. Reading this depth chart here.
Fitzpatrick, he's with the threes, like with just.
Well, I'm just saying how they got it written here. It's A.J. Brown, then it's Westbrook Akina, and then does that mean McMath is behind him? And then Kalijah Lipscomb, and then Des Fitzpatrick. How is this working? Or is he behind McMath because there's only one spot?
They have multiple.
I mean, they got like 4 guys, and I'm like, I don't know how to read a depth chart. I'm just that ding-dongish.
They have a pile of number 2 wide receivers. There's a pile of number 2s.
All I can see is Chester Rogers running 2, who I like. Marcus Johnson has been killing their practice, according to not only you, but everybody. They're running with the 2s. I just don't, man, I want to think that the draft picks would have a leg up just because they were draft picks, and then they should be showing, well, here's what you're showing, that you better put some work in.
Because your butt's about to get beat up by Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers.
Well, who are veteran guys now.
Veteran guys.
They're 4-year guys who are capable in sub packages. I'm a big fan of Rogers. I remember him with the Colts. I think he's a solid backup. He can do multiple things. He can return punts. I mean, I like him. I thought he could make this roster. He may be the last guy, but I thought he had a really good shot. I didn't know much about Marcus Johnson. Wasn't he on the team last year, Marcus? No.
Chester was. Marcus has been in Philly and also in Indy.
Oh, okay.
So this is his first year here. He played at Texas, and he didn't play much. He didn't play a whole lot in Texas. So he's an undrafted guy. Played a year in Philly. He was on the Super Bowl team. Played a little bit. Then 3 years in Indy. I wrote this down because I thought we're going to wind up talking about this today.
He was an undrafted guy. Was probably behind some guys that got drafted and was a rotational player at a big school and got a shot at camp. And then people go, whoa, this guy's actually an NFL level player.
He's 42 catches in the NFL, 679 yards and 3 TDs, scattered over like some games each of the last 4 years. This is one of those guys where you look at his sheet and it's like 9 games one year and 6 games the next and 11 the next, that kind of guy. But he had one of those scores today in that 7-on-7 goal red zone drill where they were deep in the red zone right in front of the NFL Network people, and you said they were pointing out like they can't score in this 7-on-7 red zone. He had one of the touchdown catches. He had a touch.
Is that the one that was somebody tweeted? Is that the one in the corner?
Yes.
He jumped and like kind of grabbed it over the top of somebody,
yeah.
And DB kind of kept running just to not form a collision. But it was a great throw and great catch.
Yes, and there was a lot of talk like, did he get both feet?
Yes.
And everybody over there said they all counted 2 feet. So there was a bunch of eyes counting 2 feet. So he was able to make a great catch. And I've been asking like different people who've come on with us, okay, if Julio and AJ aren't practicing, who's the guy then? It's like, okay. Don't count me out. I'm going to take every one of these extra reps. Right now, it's probably him. Marcus Johnson, which I think of the Bucks Marcus Johnson from we were kids, the basketball player who was Marquess. Marcus Johnson, yeah.
Number 8.
Oh, he was so smooth.
Milwaukee Bucks.
That old school Bucks uniform.
Yes, with the stripes on the side. Right?
I can't get distracted here.
Is that when Lanier was on the team? Was he on the team?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he went way back.
Oh, and guess what? I know you remember this guy, Terry Cummings.
Of course, out of DePaul, Terry Cummings, man.
Great player,
man. Oh, he's a great player.
Sidney Moncrief.
Sidney Moncrief's from Arkansas. And I remember him as a kid, super Sid. Number 4,
Well, hopefully he'll have as good a career as the basketball Marcus Johnson.
Well, this guy, and here's another thing I thought this was interesting. And you can tell me that don't mean nothing, you dummy. Or you could tell me maybe this means something. Because I know you'll tell me you ding-dong. By the way, we'll give you our ding-dongs in a minute. You can share yours, Mark Spain hotline, 615-737-1045. The depth chart's out, so we're just ding-donging it up here. But we haven't forgotten about that. On Saturday, I went, and Marcus Johnson made a great catch, contested in 7-on-7 in practice. They were like midfield 7-on-7. He made a great catch between 2 defenders, both going for the ball from Barkley. Caught the ball, split the 2 guys, and it's not one of those things where it's like they could have easily touched him. They wouldn't have laid a finger on him. He would have scored on this particular play. Derrick Henry and Tannehill ran from behind the play all the way into the end zone to celebrate with him. I don't see them do it any other time. Now, they always celebrate their touchdowns, but they were out of the play. Barkley was out there at that time throwing. And they both, like Derrick Henry, no helmet on, ran down there, and Tannehill followed him. I just thought these guys seem to really like this guy. Like they appreciate what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I didn't see them running.
Guess what? Because you know why they're going to watch the tape. It's not even just about that play. It's about we see consistent play day in and day out. Now, you said he's running with the ones, I'm assuming, but you said Barkley was the quarterback. They do rotate the quarterback. Who was the defense out there? Who were the defenders? Was it starters or backups?
It was backups at that point.
All right, guys that we would know, though. Crookshank, let's say at safety. Who was at the safety position? You said he caught down the middle of the field, so I'm assuming it was against safety. Could have been against the corners. I don't know what coverage they were in. Anything like that. Could have been playing cover 2. I don't know what yard line were they on and all those things. But
they were midfield, so it was probably a safety and a corner. Now, there was a play later where Ferkser, I think Jayon was in the middle. Ferkser ran down the train tracks and got past Jayon and caught one to set up a field goal.
Number 2 beater.
But this deal, it had to have been between a safety and a cornerback, but I don't remember which 2 at the time. You know, I get focused on just watching the pretty offensive plays.
Yeah.
So
Which everybody does.
Yes, we all do.
Myself included.
But he made a great play. Those 2 guys ran around the pack of players, 60-plus yards to the end zone, starting quarterback, 2,000-yard rusher, who wanted to probably sit and drink another sip of Gatorade because it was hotter than just anything you want to say that's hot. And they both ran down there and celebrate with this guy. Like, they appreciate what he's doing.
That's strong right there. From 2 of the leaders on the team on offense. That's strong. I think he's got the edge on being out there ahead of maybe both rookie receivers. Maybe so. That means you're gaining trust. And that is huge, as I've talked about for a long time on either side of the ball. That you can get it done. I mean, you start stacking on, practice after practice after practice of showing up. That is tremendous. Huge.
How much? Boy, this is a question here. And we haven't again. It's still ding dong of the week segment. We got a depth chart though. It's a new toy we're playing with here.
I'm still looking at it
how much. Everybody watches the tape every day. Everybody watches the tape every day. But then they're about to play 3 preseason games. What's the ratio of how well you do in practice? Like maybe some guys practicing not so well, but he goes out there in the preseason game, catches him 4 balls for 80 yards and a touchdown or makes 3 tackles or a pick. How much do you factor in this guy's doing the same thing consistent in practice every day versus, boy, the lights came on, this guy really showed up, or vice versa?
Well, I think there's something to it. I always want to take heed to when the lights, come on. And that's not to say, let's say Marcus Johnson, maybe he doesn't get any opportunities, but then somebody else gets a lot of opportunities, and then they got to showcase. Then you say, okay, he's not scared of the lights, bright lights. Then you say, okay, who is he doing against? Mm-hmm. Was he, running exactly what he's supposed to run? Some guys could go out here and have a good day, and then you're like, but he ran the wrong route. We just found a way to get him the ball.
Yeah.
See, those are the things we don't know. Is he doing precisely? Is he running at 12 and in, if that was what the call was, or out, or whatever? Did he run it at 14 and just so happened he was out there with Barkley and they just ad-libbed and ran around and made a play? So I'm looking more for discipline. You always want to see exciting plays and guys showing up. But I would lean, and it could be different when you're talking about backup guys who are depth guys. I would lean a little more towards actual practice daily.
Yeah.
I really would, because then you really know who he is. You really do. And if somebody does, when the lights turn on and they don't show up, then you can see it clearly based off of practice. But if a guy just happens to show up, I'm not a big, we need to see more. He did well, but I don't know if that's really who he is.
And
You got to take it with a grain of salt. You got to have a real good feel and good balance with both of it. Because I'm big on game day, but sometimes I got to see more.
yeah.
Yeah. Because why didn't you? I want to know. Well, why haven't you been doing this at practice? And you can't go ask the guy. I mean, like, why did you do that at practice?
Right. Where you been? Every day.
If you're a receiver, you can say, well, I didn't get that many opportunity. No, everybody's got an opportunity. So no can do. Nah.
No, they all, I mean, especially with Julio and AJ out, all the other guys who make the team, all the other guys have as good a chance to show what they can do. This is an unbelievable chance because your ones are not practicing. They're doing very little. So the twos are the ones and the threes are the twos and the fours are the threes. Yeah. Everybody gets to even move up a level to show what they can do.
Right. And so you're getting to compete against some guys who are playing in the National Football League.
Yep.
So that's why it's concerning for me, Fitzpatrick and McMahon. I mean, you would think that they would be stepping up. I mean, both of these guys are tall, long, athletic players who they drafted. And we're sitting here talking about Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers, veteran guys who had some experience in the National Football League. So is experience kind of, taking over a little bit more so than the younger players? Not to say that the younger players can't potentially be better, but as of it today, early in camp, we're in the second week, the veteran guys are showing up.
Showing up and showing out. This is their chance, although it was a very nice day for the defense. Let's just leave it at that. All right, Ding Dong of the Week. We'll give you ours when we come back. You can hit us on Twitter at Blaine and Mickey, or again, Mark Spectrum Real Estate Hotline open 615-737-1045.
Coming up today on the 3HL.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got the voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, joining.
We got a lot of Titan stuff to talk about. The Angry Sports Millennial Buck Rising hops in, too. We're going to treat Monday like it's Friday.
It's close, too, because that's game day on Friday.
That's true. It's game week.
Hop.
Today, starting at 3 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
No one wants to go to the vehicle repair shop. It's like going to the
.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing. So I'm just, Lucas, I know you've got a ding-dong. Blaine always loves to share his ding-dong with everyone.
I got ding-dong.
I said this before, I love the Olympics. I had somebody tell me, I tweeted one day that I was enjoying the Olympics. The guy said, I don't watch that. I don't like, he was mad about like something one of the athletes had said. And my thing is always like, I'm amazed, and I get sticking to your principles because I've been stubborn about some things in my life. But like somebody who gets mad at one thing, and so they just don't watch
anything.
Right. Like one shot putter said something on Twitter that you didn't like, so then you didn't watch anything else? Nothing? The whole world peacefully competed in athletic events instead of shooting at each other for 2 weeks, and you couldn't get behind that? It only happens every, 2 years, the way they stagger the winter and the summer. I love it. I love the obscurity of all the events, the horse dancing, all the stuff, handball, water polo. I love all of it. I watch all of it, and I'm sad when it's over. I was sad yesterday. I told my wife, felt like the end of summer camp. All my friends left town. But there is a side to the Olympics that has some ding-dongery. So I didn't see this particular event, pentathlon, which involves riding a horse. A German pentathlon coach was disqualified after punching a horse.
Oh.
Who punches a horse? Now, there may be horse people out there, but who punches a horse? Disqualified, was not part of the men's individual final at the Tokyo Olympics after she hit a horse with her fist earlier in the games. She hit a horse on Friday night in the show jumping event and urged a German rider to really hit the horse when the horse didn't want to jump. So I didn't know this. Basically, you just draw straws and you get assigned to a horse. You don't like pack up your horse and take it with you. You just get a horse. This German rider, I guess, was running away with the event and got to the jumps, and the horse is like, no way, not today, man, not doing it. Nope, that's not what I came here to do. Because it's a living thing, and it didn't want to jump. And so the coach is like, punch the horse, told the rider to punch the horse. Anyway, that was it for the coach for that event. But horse punching, ding dong, don't punch a horse.
Wow.
Yeah, let me tell you something. That horse could hurt you a lot worse than you could hurt it.
Oh man, he should have drop kicked him or her.
That would have been amazing if that horse had been like, okay, wham. So to the German pentathlon coach disqualified punching a horse, you are ding dong.
Man, where did Lucas? He quit on us? He just let us run it from here? Yeah.
No, dude, we just.
Oh, I can see him.
He's busy in there.
All right, do you have your ding dong? If not, I'll go.
Yeah, again, I'm reaching back to Thursday for this ding dong. I just had it pulled up. It was Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk on Twitter, 3 days ago, going into the Hall of Fame game. And man, I just had the tweet in front of me, and now I lost it. But it was kind of a sarcastic, like, all right, getting ready for a meaningless, glorified football practice with a bunch of guys that'll be cut by August 31st. It's like, come on, man. You don't have to watch the Hall of Fame game. Don't be that guy that's complaining about watching preseason games every time there's a preseason game. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. I do think if you watch every snap of the Hall of Fame game or any preseason game, you're a ding-dong. But don't go at other people for just turning the game on. Yeah, it's a glorified football practice, but football's on our TV. We haven't had a Hall of Fame game in 2 years. Mike Florio was my ding-dong of the week for Thursday.
Yeah, appreciate getting to see some guys play now.
I watched the pregame show to that. I was so desperate for football.
Yeah.
I watched the Hall of Fame show pregame. I watched a bunch of the induction speeches,
I probably would have watched that too, but I only saw, I watched half of the game, and then I tried to listen to most of the speeches because, you only know so much about those guys. I mean, like I was listening to Charles Woodson, and I'm like, man, I remember I was sitting there in his first year in the league. Me and him are on the bus going to practice at the Pro Bowl. I'm like, dang, man, you in your first year, and you're in the Pro Bowl. I'm like, dude, I'm looking like, this guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame. His first year, he was in the Pro Bowl. I'm like, oh, my God.
But at that point, you're like, this cat's different, right?
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And he played 18 years.
Yeah.
And
he had to keep up with Peyton.
With Peyton.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't going to quit till Peyton quit.
Yeah.
But that, because my wife was asking me, she said, who do you play for? And I was like, it's funny. He played for the Raiders, then the Packers forever. Then he finished with the Raiders. But he was a safety when he went back.
Safety, yeah. Yeah, they did.
And he made the Pro Bowl his 18th year.
Yeah, he was getting picks then. His ball skills came into play.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. He was exceptional. He was tall too. So not quite as tall as Farley, but he was pretty tall for a corner. So he had the size, speed. He could return punts, kick. He could have played receiver in the league too if you asked him, especially early in his career. So yeah, it was good hearing everybody's speeches. Naturally, Peyton Manning kind of. I felt like he was either going to be the new sheriff at some point.
Yep.
He's going to be
Commissioner,
Goodell, or he's going to actually be an owner of a team because he was speaking to somebody or some bodies to say this. I'm gonna lead this league to the promised land. I'm like, well, anything that gets you paid $40 million a year, I'm sure it's gonna be something he's gonna be doing. So I would say either the new sheriff at some point, or an owner of a team. Yep, yeah, I think that was it. But he was funny. He had humor, seriousness, all of it. But all the speeches were great. You get to get a little insight on personally what their fights were. You think you know a guy, but until you hear him sit up there and tell their story, it's kind of interesting.
The most amazing one, and I know we've still got to get Blaine's ding dong here. Megatron played 9 years.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
9 years.
But he was Megatron.
He's 35 years old.
Yeah, I think they said he was the youngest Hall of Fame.
He's the third. Gale Sayers will always be the youngest.
Oh, okay.
Because I think he was done, retired 5 years, and in the Hall of Fame at 32.
Oh.
At 32. He's 32 years old. Somebody tweeted this out last night, and I'd give credit to if I could remember who it was.
What'd they say?
Oh, gosh. It was somebody who started when Tom Brady started.
And they've been out the league like 10 years or so.
Or like they had been drafted after Tom Brady played their whole career, sat out 5 years, and got inducted in the Hall of Fame. And Tom Brady is still.
Oh, wow.
That's what it was. One of those guys in the Hall of Fame had started after Tom Brady, played his whole career. Maybe it was Megatron.
It might have been Megatron. Yeah.
That he played his whole career at a Hall of Fame level, quit, sat out 5 years, put in the Hall of Fame, and Tom Brady is still playing at 44 years. He just turned 44.
Yeah. His body and his brain is pliable.
His body is a wonderland.
Yeah. And speaking of that, talking about brains that are pliable, I don't know how to view this ding dong. So people are going to have to help me out because I don't know how to view this ding dong.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is how it sounds. So
Okay.
you guys tell me. And this is a tweet by Michael Thomas, the wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints.
Well, that's turned into a mess.
He responds after a report over the weekend suggested Thomas spent much of the offseason ignoring calls from the team, checking in on the status of his ankle injury. He did I want to call it a LeBron James type tweet, and that is passive aggressive.
Oh boy,
to me that's LeBron's MO to me.
Aaron Rodgers.
This is what Michael Thomas tweeted out after that report of his ankle and not answering the phone. They tried to damage your reputation. You saved theirs by not telling your side of the story. So they tried to damage your reputation, but you saved theirs by not telling your side of the story. So does he get a ding dong for teasing us and not telling us anything? Because that's what I feel like. It's like, you got something to tell us? Well, then you got your own platform. Tell us your side of the story. Bro, don't be scared.
Hey, man, I think that dude looked around and was like, I'm about to have Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill throwing me the ball.
Stop that.
I'm going to do everything I can to jeopardize my career.
No.
I'm going to make them hate me.
They say this guy's an ultimate competitor.
Yeah.
Sometimes he wants to fight some of the DBs at practice.
They're going to trade me for a kicking tee and some Gatorade bottles.
Yeah,
Getting out of here.
And I remember Sean Payton's face when he was up there at the podium saying, yeah, we didn't know nothing about this. Like, he was perturbed.
Yeah.
He was hot. Like, his face was about as red as Mickey's is right now. So, I just wonder, what is he talking about? So, I'll be shocked, man, if he is no longer with the Saints maybe halfway through the season when he gets healthy.
Hey, man. I ain't answering no phone calls. Nothing. I ain't telling y'all nothing.
Yeah.
Trade me.
Yeah.
But he knew this. He's not saying trade me. Every one of his actions are saying trade me. Yeah. And he can go, look, I never even asked for a trade publicly.
Yeah.
I'm a team
And
player.
he's injured now, so now he's rehabbing an ankle injury. I think he had surgery now. Because they was like, well, if we knew he needed surgery, we would have got it sooner in the offseason.
dude, he looked around the quarterback room. He's like, yeah, I don't feel very good.
Hey, wait a minute now. Hold on. I think yes, Jameis Winston is a ding dong at times. He threw 30 interceptions, but he also threw 30 touchdowns. That is pretty hard to do. I mean, I get it, but that shows at times he can be pretty impressive. He just kind of cut him down from, just get the 30 interceptions down to like 15, cut it in half. I think he'd be all right.
He can literally make every throw and miss every throw. He's in the 30-30 club with Ken Seiko.
There could have been some issues along the way of how those happened, but ultimately you're at fault because you would have got pulling the trigger.
Have you seen his workout videos? Where he's like running around shaking a towel and Lucas, have you seen these?
I think they're a little entertaining. I don't like some of it. I've never seen other quarterbacks do some of these drills. One time it looked like it was a boxer, like somebody was beating him up. I'm like, dude, that's not how a pass rush. A quarterback tries to avoid the pass rush.
And he'll just be like in a yard near an elementary school or something.
It's almost like he can't afford to have a facility to go to. It looks like he's in a backyard with the grass not cut, and the guy's training him. Seriously. And he's with got two big old arm pads. He's up there beating him while he's up there moving around in the pocket. I'm like, man, this looks like this is cheap labor here. But
there's like kids on a swing behind him in the shot.
Yes,
it's like a public park.
It's like, man, are you out of town or something? You called the guy up? I mean, what is going on here, man?
Are you out of town?
Like he said, hey man, I'm gonna be out of town. I mean, so meet me. I'm gonna be at this park. You gonna be there? I heard you're pretty good.
Yeah. I know I'm not getting the massage while I'm out of town.
I'm gonna add Winston to the ding dong list. There, I gotta do it, man, because he's hilarious, man. I mean, you gotta just watch it, man. Hey, man, I'm always about giving a guy another shot to see if he can revitalize his career. Guess what? We're doing it for Marcus Mariota. If he gets a shot with the Raiders, because I think potentially he could.
Yeah.
I think he's actually a better thrower. It's just a matter if he can stay healthy to stay, for a whole season and show what he can really do. Hey, and guess what? You got a guy not too far from you, too, that went to Oregon. He doing pretty good. He a rookie. Oh, second year now, Herbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't let him outdo you because he not at Oregon. He can't touch Marcus Mariota's legacy. So, yeah, you got to keep it going. You can't let him beat you out. Come on, Marcus.
All right. Marcus is not in town. He's in Las Vegas. Luke Worsham is in town from A to Z Sports. We'll talk all this Titan stuff with Luke coming up in about 20 minutes. Headlines next.
Better have his ding dong.
The Titans and Falcons go at it in the first preseason game of the year. Continuous coverage all day Friday.
Into the end zone. Touchdown! Titans!
With kickoff at 6 p.m. on your home for Titans football. 104.5 The Zone.
ding-dong list. The depth chart. Oh, my. I love depth charts, though, because.
Do you really? Because as a player.
As an athlete.
Okay.
I really do. Because you must see where you are. So if a coach tells you, well, we don't have a depth chart to a player, to me, that's a no-no.
Okay.
That means that I'm not on the depth chart. That's what that tells me.
Okay.
If you ask the coach, your individual position coach, where are you at on the depth chart? And they go, well, we'll have depth chart. Meanwhile, y'all been running with, running twos, ones. They call out ones, twos, three. So there is a depth chart.
Yeah.
Just trying to get confirmation that where you've been running, and then you want to lead that conversation into something else, like, okay, what do I need to do to continue to improve and those things. But when they say, well, we don't have a depth chart, that's been very coy, and that to me tells me you're probably not in the running here. Yeah, at any level. I don't care what you're running. That's what it tells me.
That'd be
So
rough.
I want to know where I'm at and where I need to go to get there and who's better than me and who's in front of me. And I could agree to disagree, but it doesn't matter. It's what you think as the coach. So what can I do to get better? That's why you're asking where you're at on the depth chart. Us as media members, we're fascinated because we want to see what the coaches are thinking. Yeah, and it tells a lot. I mean, for some guys, it's a rude away. I'm like Jan Johnson at number 2 middle linebacker in front of Monty Rice is. I don't know if that was a typo or you go out there in practice, you're not even watching the middle linebacker, but at the twos. But that one there is kind of a head scratcher. Sambrello and Lamb are competing for that right tackle. And Raduns is a guard. He's in the twos behind Nate Davis. So it was, and the veteran backup receivers are doing well. Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers were at the twos. Rashad Reaver was kind of deep on the depth chart too. Draft pick. So, and got Tier Tart starting. Dominating up front. Him and Jeffrey Simmons are causing really a lot of problems with these backup linemen who are, I guess, with the injuries issues.
Yep.
So that's a lot of watch this. That's a lot of beef up there to move. I'm serious now, and beef and man-child strength in Simmons. Just a forewarning, and I know he's well at the PFF grades and everything else, but I'm not real big on calling the horse before somebody's going to be great. But everybody's putting Jeffrey Simmons on this elite plane like he's already arrived here,
Right.
And that's not to say he won't get there, but let's wait till we see some games of him doing it and then consistently. So I'm a real big proponent of that. I think he potentially can be there, but let's just hold our horses. I asked somebody over the weekend, who on the roster do you think is a potential Hall of Famer outside of Derrick Henry? And the first thing they said was Jeffrey Simmons. I said, well, he hasn't even made a Pro Bowl. How can he be a potential Hall of Famer? Not to say that he won't be,
Right.
but that's the first person that came to your mind. This person's around the organization. They were like, that's the first thing. They said somebody else, but I was so baffled
Was
when
it
he
AJ?
said, no, he didn't say. Yeah, it might have been AJ Brown, but he didn't say AJ Brown second. He said Jeffrey Simmons. Yeah, and I was like, and it go, naturally he's a first rounder and got injured and everything else, but he has Hall of Fame talent,
Right.
Obviously, but there's more to it. You have to develop your skill sets and everything else to be a complete player and then to dominate, because we're talking as though he's already dominated. And he could be doing that in practice now.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been out there to a lot of practice naturally, but it's still practice. I want to see him doing it in a game. And I'm not talking about run stuff, and I'm talking about dominating a game. I've seen what a D tackle looks like in a Titans uniform when I saw Albert Hayworth go for that contract.
Yeah.
And he dominated. He was a force. Unbelievable. I have never seen anything like that.
It's the single most destructive thing I've ever seen for a season of NFL football.
It was incredible. I was like, oh, my God, this guy here is – it was about as unbelievable when you watch CJ2K running for 2,000.
Right.
Every time he touched the ball, you stood up because, it's about to be a big one. Every time he touched it. Well, every time they got on defense that year, Albert Haynesworth was the best player in the world.
Yeah.
On defense.
Defensive player of the year.
Yeah. So that's what I want to start seeing. And I want to see the pass rush. I want to see the technicality and the counter moves and not just the bull. So I'm sure he's working on all those, but let's see it first in an actual game back to back to back. Then we can start saying, okay, this guy's gonna be a Hall of Fame level player. And I hope he is. He has the personality, he has the mindset, he has the skill set. But we all know there's a lot of guys get in there and they, get to, hey, man, this is about as good as I'm going to get. And they don't know who to go to get better. So I don't know how much he's done on working on pass rush, spin moves. I want to see a vast array of things. I would have watched Aaron Donald all off season. I can say, well, I'm stronger than him. Maybe he's a little quicker than me, but I need to work on some of the things he's doing. Matter of fact, I would have reached out to him. With all the access on social media now that players have to each other, that's really easy. Or agents, and, get in contact, to see what you can learn.
Well, you had the whole tight end summit. All the starting tight ends in the NFL came here and worked out together. I bet Aaron Donald would have said, come on, big fella. Here's where I am. Yeah. Here's what time to show up. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Aaron Donald works out with Chuck Smith Systems.
Oh, Dr. Rush, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff actually works, huh?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I would have reached out to that. That's not a far drive, Georgia. Okay. So that, I might have went up there just for a weekend just to learn a couple things, get some workout in.
Seminar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Von Miller's, he still got a lot of sacks behind his name.
Yeah, he does. Well, I was jumped on with Buck today from practice, and we were talking about Danico Autry, and I said he might be the guy free agent wise I'm most excited about. And Buck was like, okay, I like it. Explain this now, because that's most people wouldn't pick him. Why'd you pick him? I said, well, I learned this because I sat next to Blaine Bishop a couple hours a day, and then a whole bunch of hours during football season, and he reminded me of this: the shortest distance to the quarterback is right through the middle. Yeah. You got the shortest distance between you and him. And either he's going to get there because he's shown that he can, or guess what? Big Jeff's going to get there because of the attention that he's getting. You crush that cylinder, and you make life difficult for the quarterback. I mean, look who won the Super Bowl last year. The team who affected the quarterback.
Yeah, affect the cylinder is big Mac attack terminology. And if you're crushing the cylinder, then now all of a sudden your outside guys are getting free rush lanes on the outside or easier rush lanes to come around that corner and that edge and get that motorcycle lean he's talking about.
Yep.
That Landry and all the great, Dupree and all the great pass rushers have. So it's twofold. That's kind of what Albert Hainsworth in his heyday was doing. If not, then Van den Bosch, and the Freak and whoever else was out there was just killing it. Yeah, cleaning it up, man. So hopefully, Autry is an underrated player. And he played great against the Titans every time they played him. So I'm assuming that. I'm not watching them other times they're not playing the Titans. But when you watch him out there at practice, he's a big, massive. He's a really good player.
Yep.
Really good player. Underrated. So I like that addition.
I like the addition of Luke Worsham. He's been going to Titans practice, A to Z. Titans reporter set to join us next. We'll get his impressions on this depth chart. We'll continue to talk about this rascal the rest of the day, too. Just because it's like a feast. You just devour this thing. So we'll continue to talk about it. Titans depth chart released. Talking about it with Luke Worsham next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
The Install with Greg Cosell gives you an inside look into the film life of senior producer for NFL Films and NFL Matchup, Greg Cosell. The Install with Greg Cosell, joined by Buck Rising, every Wednesday afternoon at 6. Download now at Apple Podcast, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast.
It was a hot day at practice, and I came in and I was telling Blaine, this defense, it's been hot with the defense this whole camp, and they don't look like they're going to cool off anytime soon.
You're absolutely right, Mickey. And when you look at this team last year, the offense was so good and the defense was so not good. It was really the polar opposite. I think that's been the biggest takeaway from camp so far, is that this defense looks really strong, but also really focused and communicative and cohesive to dive deep into the dictionary there under Shane Bowen. I mean, all signs point to a massive turnaround this year.
So how much of this do you use your keen football mind for awareness and you say, okay, there's no Julio, there's no AJ, Derek's not doing a lot of the team stuff, the offensive line is patchwork. I mean, it's Tannehill back there, but a lot of his surrounding cast is not the same. So do you take some of it with a grain of salt, or are you just saying this defense is just killer and it's all because of them, or does it maybe meet somewhere in the middle?
I wouldn't go so far as to call them killer. I'm going to need to see more than training camp practice for that. But they look really nothing like the sort of confused, disheveled unit that we saw throughout the 2020 season. They look like they know what they're doing. Most of the time that we hear coaches yelling at people not being in the right place, it's on the offensive players. The defense has kind of known what it's doing, and I think that's what you can get a gauge of in these practices, because I think you're right that we have to hold off to some extent until the season starts to make big-time evaluations. But the communication and the conceptual understanding seems to be tremendously improved.
No doubt. Luke Worsham joins us from A to Z Sports at Luke_Worsham. You need to follow him there for all the latest with his Titans coverage.
No doubt. Thanks for coming on, Luke, and keep doing a great job out there, giving us updates to all your followers, as I'm a huge follower. But I guess, did you look at the depth chart, and was there anything that kind of stood out to you personally, since you've been out there actually watching practice? Did you go, whether it was an offense, defense, or maybe on both sides, even special teams, anything that you noticed that you felt like, I don't know, this one's here's kind of interesting?
Yeah, I think it was interesting that the right tackle was listed as Sambrailo/Lamb. That would seem to suggest that they're not looking at David Quessenberry there. And while Sambrailo was sitting out, we saw Quessenberry getting a lot of those reps. So that would seemingly, at least in my eyes, take him out of that competition. What also caught my eye was Chester Rogers being listed as the starting punt returner, because he's someone who is right in the thick of it, competing for that 4th, 5th receiver spot. And I think his ability to return punts gives him a leg up, because none of the top 3 guys, AJ, Julio, or Josh Reynolds, will do that. And I think the Titans need to find someone who can return punts. But since you're not getting, Tyreek Hill or Devin Hester out of this equation, someone who can also contribute in another way. And I think Rodgers has shown that he can be a potentially valuable slot receiver while giving them that ability to return punts and not wasting a roster spot for that.
And on the defensive side, didn't even notice who Jan Johnson is. Have you noticed him out there as the backup behind Rashaan Evans, or is that just a formality there that he's there?
I have no idea who Jan Johnson is, Blaine. I think if you sent me out onto the practice field with everyone still wearing their jersey numbers, I don't think I would be able to point to you who that is. Maybe that's me not being very good at my job.
You're really good at your job.
I think what it is the fact that, like the word you used, this is just a formality. Like, Jan Johnson is not making this team.
Yeah, well, I never even knew he was out there, so I was just wanting to make sure I wasn't missing anything, because I can miss some things.
No.
Especially when you talk about at practice. And I have to ask you about the kicking game. Does it look like, with the competition now, with somewhat of a veteran guy and Sam Ficken, is he pushing Tucker McCann, and is that making Tucker, I guess, a better kicker and showing more consistency?
When camp started, I was just dead convinced that this was a charade and that it was always going to end up being Gostkowski, and that this was just sort of a for funsies competition. Like, the more this has gone on, the more I've started to wonder, like, would they actually be comfortable with one of these two guys? And McCann continues to not be very good. He missed one today, whereas Ficken went 7 for 7. I don't know. Like, I will say Tucker McCann looks better. Like, I remember last year when we were out there, every single one of McCann's kicks was a knuckleball. Like, it had so much movement on it that we were struggling to tell whether they went in. And he doesn't have that problem anymore. But he's also, like, not making them consistently. And when every single day you send your kickers out for the kicking period and us media vultures are tweeting out that they're going 5 and 6 or 4 or 5 every single day, like, that's a problem. You need a kicker that can do better than 80%, I would think.
Well, we should hope, especially if you're trying to make that Super Bowl run. I guess lastly for me, before I pass back to Mickey, and that do we need to get accustomed to Logan Woodside is the backup quarterback, or is that just way ahead of, and that Barkley with his experience is eventually, going to be the backup? Where are we at with the backup quarterback?
I don't know. I think it's an interesting question. I think they really like Logan Woodside. Mm-hmm. I don't really know why. Like, I have never seen anything from Logan Woodside.
He hadn't played in a regular season game. He's been in some preseason games.
I've never seen anything from him that made me go, wow, this guy's got it. Now granted, Deshaun Kaiser, Blaine Gabbert, that's kind of the mold of quarterback where you watch in practice and you're like, man, this guy's got the tools, the physical, from a physical standpoint, everything you'd want. But Woodside also is, like, not really that accurate, I don't think. Like, he misses his mark a lot of times. I think what they probably like from him is he probably knows the playbook. He's probably good with timing and understanding, the offense from a conceptual standpoint, which I guess is, like, what you want because if Tannehill's out for the season, it's over. But if he's out for a game or two, you want someone who can come in and, go 1-1 in those 2 games where Tannehill has to sit out. And they probably think Woodside can be that. I don't know that he can. But granted, I don't think Matt Barkley is that either. There's a reason that he was a free agent at the beginning of August. So I think it'll be Woodside just because they seem to like him. And I don't know that Matt Barkley is going to do a whole lot. Maybe the preseason will tell us more. But I think you're going to have to look to Woodside. And if he were to ever have to play, it would come down to execution of Todd Downing's game plan more than him really creating anything on his own.
Real quick, though, because I never got to see Kaiser live. Did he just look that bad and off, or what'd you see out of Kaiser? Because he has the tools. He has the big arm. Was it he wasn't picking up on the playbook? He just wasn't very accurate. What were some of the things that were leading him down the road to release him?
Yeah, Deshaun Kaiser kind of looked exactly how I expected Deshaun Kaiser to look. Fast, big arm, and all over the place with accuracy and decision-making. I mean, I remember on day one, he was like rolling to the left, threw one across his body that he had no business throwing, and Breon Borders picked him off. He threw another bad interception a day after that. But, like, look, I don't think we should be terribly surprised by the fact that Deshaun Kaiser didn't last long with the Titans. This is a guy who was a second-round draft pick, and I know that Cleveland was terrible top to bottom. But the dude went 0-16 as the team's starting quarterback. And I can't remember if he started every one of those games, but he was the guy on the team that went 0-16. And before that, he nearly got Brian Kelly fired at Notre Dame, but yet the NFL fell in love with him because of the physical tools. He's just never been able to put it all together. And in year 4, year 5, I think anyone who thought that it was going to magically all come together now was probably just expecting a little bit too much.
Well, with Luke Worsham with the A to Z Sports.
Yeah, Luke joins us on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. It was an interesting moment. It's been fun to watch Caleb Farley get kind of plugged into things and seems to be doing more and more, which is a great sign physically after all that he's been through. So Titans fans certainly excited about that. And Luke, I was waiting for my COVID 2 weeks to clear after my last shot, so I finally got to go out and see practice on Saturday. And the first thing I noticed was like, oh my gosh, this guy looks like if you said, hey, we're making a movie, send the guy down, he's going to play an NFL cornerback. Like that's a guy who you'd be like, I'm going to send Caleb Farley. It's exactly what he looks like. I'm sending him. But if Vrabel got into his butt today, he learned a valuable lesson about how to practice.
Yeah, it hasn't been easy going early for Farley. Now, this is not me ringing the alarms or saying, we need to start wondering because he didn't play football for a year or whatever. He's young, and it's going to take some time for him to figure out how to put those, rare generational physical traits that he has to use. And I'm going to call myself out here. I tweeted out a couple of weeks ago, I said it on my podcast, that I thought that week one, you put that guy on DeAndre Hopkins and see what happens. But after watching him practice and realizing how big the learning curve ahead of him is, I'm starting to think that might be a better job for old Jackrabbit instead of Caleb Farley. Because like you said, Mickey, there was a play today where Logan Woodside was the quarterback. He scrambled up the middle, and Farley just looked lost. Like he was kind of looking around as to where to go and kind of fell to the ground and was near Woodside but never even touched him. And Vrabel said after practice today, he's like, yeah, we got, like you said, we got to learn how to practice, and we got to learn that we can't give that kind of minimal effort where we're sitting down on the ground. They did a drill the other day where they had 2-on-2, 2 receivers, 2 DBs, and they were practicing switching off a slot and an outside receiver. He really struggled with that. Had a holding call on Saturday trying to cover Des Fitzpatrick. Caleb Farley, I bet on him being a great NFL player, and it's early. But over the first 3 days of watching him, I'm struggling to convince myself that he's going to be a great NFL player, at some point over the next couple of months. I think it's going to take more than that.
Luke Worsham, our guest from A to Z Sports, at Luke_Worsham. You need to follow him there, joining us on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. I was going to ask you this, and I've been able to see a couple of practices now, but I know you've been out there on the regular. So the one receivers are not practicing. I mean, I guess they're doing some stretch and individual with AJ and Julio, and Julio hasn't been on the practice field a week since he came down awkwardly on a play. They're kind of bubble wrapping those guys. If you had to say, okay, out of everybody else, this guy or these guys are taking and Josh Reynolds has missed he missed like 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
Who are the guy or guys? Because it seems like Marcus Johnson. But I'm curious, who would you say, like, these guys are going to put together a camp that could make the team?
If you're playing purely – or you're making this decision purely based on receiving ability, I think you have your top three, right, Reynolds and Julio and A.J. Brown. And then I think it goes probably Marcus Johnson 4 and then Chester Rogers 5, which is shocking because I think we all came into this expecting Nick Westbrook-Akina to take a step forward – and Des Fitzpatrick, the 4th-round draft pick, to do anything. But Des Fitzpatrick is not one of their 6 best receivers right now. He has a really steep learning curve ahead of him. He hasn't done much. He struggled to make routine plays. Personally, if he wasn't a 4th-round draft pick and didn't have the potential that they see in him, I don't think he would make the team. But he will make the team because he does have that potential. But it's been Johnson and Rogers. And these are 2 guys that I don't know that Titans fans were terribly familiar with. I don't know that I was terribly familiar with them. Certainly not Johnson before camp started. But Johnson's 6'1". He's fast. He makes plays every day, with his speed and with physicality. And Chester Rogers is a quality option in the slot, like I was talking about earlier. Those are the 2 guys who are neck and neck for that 4th receiver spot. Like I said, I don't know that anyone was expecting that, but that is certainly the way that has played out so far, and I would expect that to continue in the preseason games too.
Luke Worsham joins us on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, after hearing that, Luke, okay, let's just assume that's the top 5. Who is number 6? Because I think with the depth of this receiving core, 6 guys may make the roster. So if it is 6, who's the 6th guy?
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely 6. I think you have your top 3. I think Fitzpatrick is in because he was a 4th-round draft pick, and I think Rogers is in because he's the punt returner. That makes 5. And so then you go, okay, well, what about Racey McMath? Because I feel like he's someone that they feel is very valuable on special teams. Mike Vrabel said he's going to have a major role on special teams. And to me, that doesn't sound like someone you're going to cut. And I also think that if you cut Racey, you can't get him back. He strikes me as someone that would get scooped up on waivers. So there's 6 right there. And we have not gotten to Nick Westbrook-Akina. We have not gotten to Marcus Johnson. And we have not gotten to Cameron Batson. And so I really think the question is, do they keep 7? Now, I'm coming out with a 53-man roster projection on Saturday after they play Friday night, but I'm kind of playing around with it now to prepare for that. And I really think there's a scenario where they keep 7 to make sure that they don't lose McMath or Johnson or some of these guys that could end up being valuable assets to them, especially with Des Fitzpatrick probably not being able to contribute a whole heck of a lot at the moment.
Man, well, I'm going to ask you what you're expecting or looking forward to on Friday in the preseason game, but two more questions about players, and that is Weaver, another draft pick, as well as Dylan Radins. He's at the guard position, I think, on the twos. How have they fared or looked? Because the depth chart says Weaver's kind of down here, and Radins is actually a guard on here. He's not even competing at the tackle position.
Yeah. And Weaver's looked good. I've noticed him flash a few times. I feel like John Simon is probably going to be that third outside linebacker, but Weaver will certainly be active, I think, and contribute if he's eligible. His legal situation certainly plays into this, and that's a whole nother conversation there. And Dylan Radins has really not looked good. It's been a very underwhelming effort for him. Like you said, he's not really even a part of the right tackle competition anymore. I think they probably hoped he would win that spot, and now 2 weeks into camp, he's not even really in the thick of it anymore, and is more playing at guard. So it's been disappointing. We've seen him get beaten on some routine pass rush moves by guys like Derek Roberson, who are not exactly top of the line pass rushers. It's been a disappointing camp for Dylan Radins. Vrabel said the other day that he needs to get better, needs to be more consistent, which granted he said for about all of the rookies. But I would certainly, on the stock chart, I would put Weaver pretty far ahead of Radins at this point.
Well, man, let's go down the depth chart as far as draft picks. 2 weeks into camp, let's just call it that. How are the draft picks that were recently drafted looking thus far, and how much do you think they're going to impact?
You're talking about 2021 draft picks, like from this year?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if that's the question, it's probably Elijah Molden would be at the top, because he's doing a lot of everything. He's one of the few people that Vrabel hasn't made a comment about, needs to get better or something like that. And he hasn't had the same mental error problems that Caleb Farley has had. I think you probably put Farley after that just because of his physical traits, and I think he will be able to contribute. Just it might take him a while to be really, really good, like I think a lot of people want and expect him to be. And maybe McMath after that because of his special team stuff. And then beyond that, it's just sort of a cluster of guys that you don't really know what you're going to be able to get out of them. Like I said, Radins has struggled. Weaver is probably going to be the fourth outside linebacker. Let's see, who are some of these other guys?
Monty Rice.
Can't remember the rest off the top of my head. But that's probably how I would put it at this point, Molden at the top.
Okay, got you. All right, so what are you looking forward to in the preseason game, which is Friday? Who are you looking to say, okay, who needs to step it up when the lights click on?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the receivers, I think, more than anything. I'm a big receiver guy in general. That's probably my favorite position to watch and to talk about and discuss. And so naturally, I'm inclined toward that. But with this group of Titans receivers, there's such a strong competition happening there for those roster spots. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, because we've seen it on the practice field. On the practice field, it's been Rodgers and it's been Marcus Johnson. Now that the full pads are on, you're playing another team. There's a real officiating crew. There's fans there. You're under the lights. I want to see who can shine in that environment. Is this a situation where maybe Nick Westbrook-Akina finally steps up and starts to do something? Or is it going to be more of the same where it's Johnson and Rodgers making all of the plays? So that's probably where I'm most interested. And I guess if Caleb Farley plays, which I don't know, he's not really a full participant quite yet in practice, though he's doing more and more every day. If Caleb Farley plays, my eyes will certainly be in his direction every snap that he's out there. But those are probably the two things I'm looking forward to the most.
Luke, great stuff, man. We appreciate the time again. At Luke_Worsham, A to Z Sports. You got your 53-man roster coming up. Projection, you said, after the game against Atlanta, the reunion with Arthur Smith. So Atlanta fans are learning about, media session Arthur Smith and how much he does or doesn't say, which is he doesn't say things.
That's right.
Oh, man. Luke, before
All
we
right,
let you
fellas,
go, man, I
yeah.
got to ask you this
Yeah.
because people were saying this
Okay.
on NFL Network, and that is when they did 7-on-7, let's say they did 10 reps. Let's throw it out there, 10 or 11 reps. How many balls did they complete, if you can recall?
Not many. Maybe like one or two.
Oh,
The offense
so it
has-
was true. Oh, no. What is going on with the offense? Don't tell me
I
because
don't
the
know.
starting receivers aren't out there.
Tannehill wasn't in rhythm for the first week or so. He's kind of settled in now, but there's no Julio, there's no AJ Brown. I'm not going to sound the panic alarm, but that is a correct assessment that the offense has not looked great so far.
Oh, I was hoping it wasn't true. Thanks, Luke.
Luke, thank you, man. We appreciate the time and always appreciate the follow on social media. Great information. All Titans fans need to follow you right now. Thanks, man.
Right, appreciate it. Take it easy, fellas.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it,
Luke Worsham breaking it down for us on Blaine and Mickey. When we come back, let's run through the draft picks, how they're looking so far, and where they are on the depth chart. Let's match the draft picks with the depth chart, which came out today. We'll do that next. We'll have a little fun. Just having some fun here. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
The NFL preseason is finally here, and the Titans pay an early visit to Julio Jones' former team, the Atlanta Falcons. Mike Keith and Coach Mack have the kickoff Friday night at 6.
Finger roll! Touchdown! Titans!
On your home for Titans football and flagship for Titans radio, 104.5 The Zone.
Sometimes you just got to put the crew in the car and you got to make a road trip. And here's your opportunity. The Bass Pro Shops NRA Night Race is coming up Saturday, September 18th at you-know-where, Bristol. It's a cutoff race in the NASCAR playoffs. Who's going to make it to the next round? Well, they're going to run over each other for a few hours that afternoon or that evening, actually, to try to figure it out. I said evening because it's America's night race. That's right. Big weekend. Thursday night trucks, Friday night Xfinity, Saturday night NASCAR Cup Series. And guess what? All with camping available. When I say load it all up and take it all and stay and make a weekend out of it, that's what I'm talking about. Man, and Bristol even has a weather guarantee. If the race is rained out on the scheduled day, you can't attend. Guess what? You get 100% credit to another race at a Speedway motorsports track. You can't lose. And it's Bristol. It's the last great Coliseum. You really can't lose. Get your tickets today, bristolmotorspeedway.com or 866-415-4158. You know why you got to be there? Because it's Bristol, baby.
When it comes to getting a quality college education, you don't have to choose between affordability and real earning potential. At Trevecca, graduates with a bachelor's degree earn the second highest average salaries
hanging out with us today and every day. We appreciate it. Titans training camp rolls on. They had officials there today. Did you like working with the officials, Kane? Would you ask them, like, what if I did this? Can I get away with that? Does this fit the rule?
I didn't say what if I did. I just did it.
Then you let them tell you, like, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Or if they didn't say anything, I say, oh, so I can get away with that.
But make a note.
Yeah. So, but I was always trying to build a relationship with the referees just because you're going to be, seeing those guys at some point in time throughout the season. And you want to get to know them a little bit.
Hey, man, if you lost weight, you look good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, man, how's the fam doing? You want to have those kind of conversations. That way, you can get away with a little nudge, a little hold here or there. If it's away from the play, it's not impacting the play, they'll let you give you a little slide. Say, hey, wash your hands there, 2, 3, So those are the kind of things you're trying to do. And then when it's, a play that's impacted, they're going to give their call. They got a job to do. So, yeah, and then you want some clarity on some things, but typically, they do that in meetings. I think they meet with the officials after practice at some point, and they kind of go through examples, breaking down certain plays and why they call calls and then what the new rules will be emphasized this upcoming season and those things. So I was really attentive to that stuff. A lot of players kind of take it for granted and just kind of, I'm going to take this a good time to snooze. I was paying a lot of attention because I wanted all the tricks that I had in my back pocket.
No doubt.
It wasn't a flag. It was one to kind of circumvent the rules a little bit. Push it to the limit.
We're gonna play. We're pushing this last segment to the limit. We're gonna play a little game. We're gonna do draft picks and where they are on the first depth chart. So this is basically how they are after a full off season, and where they stand. Where are we? Week and a half into training camp. Is that where we are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are. We want to go from the front or the back?
You mean at the end of the draft?
Yeah.
Let's start at the end then.
All right, Brady Breeze, 6th-round pick. I will say this, too. I saw somebody tweet this out.
What did they say?
He was taken in the 6th round.
He got thrown out of practice.
11 picks before Trey Smith.
Oh. That is like.
You could have had Trey Smith.
Oh, my.
It was 11 picks later.
Oh, my. Just with that being said alone, the odds of him having a chance of making a roster are slim to none. He's doomed because everybody's going to say, we could have Trey Smith.
11 picks later was Trey Smith. He's starting. They put out a depth chart yesterday.
Now to Kansas City credit, I love Andy Reid to death. Great dude. Is their team is really good, and so are the Titans, but they felt like it was worth the risk.
Yep.
A lot of teams pass him up if you get to the 6th round.
Yep.
So they didn't feel like it was worth the risk, and maybe it's the unknown. But it was not unknown that this guy is going to be starting as soon as he got in the NFL. I don't care what round
he's mauling people like a bear.
Yeah, well, he's doing the same thing he did in college and in high school. Yeah. He's a different breed, man. It's just, if he can just get his health under the wraps, I think, yeah. But, yeah, Brady Breeze is going to have to live under that shadow. So he'll probably be on the practice squad.
All right, Brady Breeze, 6th pick. He's on the 3rd team.
215.
215.
A pick after I was picked. 214.
Okay. 215. Racy McMath, also a 6th-round pick. The special teamer out of LSU. He's listed. There's a bunch of wide receivers. Like I said earlier, it's a pile of number 2s. There's a pile of number 2 wide receivers. He has listed amongst that pile of wide receivers running with the 2s, Racy McMath.
Yeah, I think because I've watched him live, great special team guy, so he will be willing to run down. That's going to help him out, make tackles. He looks better running routes than he did in college. So I think he's a guy that I think he's going to squeeze in there and make the roster, but he's like 5th, 6th guy on the depth chart as far as wide receiver. But I think he's going to squeak in there. Not just because he was a draft pick. I think you see the upside in him getting better week in and day out. So I kind of like him more than I thought I would.
And if he's a number 6 receiver, that cat ain't catching any passes. He's out there to play special teams, and that's what that's what he did even
nice
at LSU.
Size too, man.
The guy next, Rashad Weaver, 4th-round pick, and remind it, there's no 4th team. There's only 1, 2, and 3. He's on the 3rd team right now. Mike Vrabel was asked about him. He said he needed to be more consistent. Rashad Weaver.
With a lot of the young guys, that's what happens. They'll show flashes, and you say, oh, man, okay, and then you want to see it over and over, and then they start, we didn't see it today. He wasn't focused.
Dez Fitzpatrick on the third team, listed behind Racey McMath. They traded up to get Des Fitzpatrick in the fourth round. Currently, the fourth rounder is on the third team.
Yeah, this one here is and they traded up like they almost pushed the panic button. They needed to draft a receiver. Might have reached a little bit. I think he's going to be good, but this year I don't see it. He may be the last spot for the receivers. Actually, I put McMath because he brings more value today.
Right.
Because of his special teams. So if it's bad, he may get that last spot at receiver.
All right, that music means Lucas is telling us to hurry.
Uh-oh. Elijah Molden,
third
starter.
team on the depth chart, but probably
starting in the slot.
Mm-hmm. Monty Rice, third team on the depth chart behind a guy named Jan Johnson, who
That's not good.
We did not recognize him. Dylan Radens is working guard right now. He's a second-round pick at tackle.
And second string.
And he's second string as a guard. And to wrap it up, Caleb Farley.
That's what I said. He is determination of how good this draft class is. He's got to be on the field. If he's not on the field, this draft class is Elijah Molden.
He's listed as second team right now.
As biggest contributor. And he just started practice. So we'll see how much he gets better. He's still got a ways to go, 4 weeks to go. Hopefully, Caleb Farley is ready to rock and roll week 1.
We got no further to go because our show's over. When the Eagles start, we got to go. 3HL coming up next. Enjoy your Monday, people.
Appreciate you, ding dong. Happy Monday! Peace.
Mike Keith is excited for another season of Titans football. Bam! Yeah, we know how you feel, Mike. Catch Mike Keith and Coach Dave McGinnis with The Call on Titans Radio.
Your home for Titans football. 104.5